Every single day for the past 10 days there's been a new meta for Spiritborn. Resolve stacking, resilient stacking, the Circle of Mystic Potency, the Shroud of False Death, the Fell Soothsayer's aspect. It's been exhausting mentally and from a rawhide perspective as well to try and keep up with what is the new meta for Spiritborn. So today, after the dust has settled, I wanted to bring you my final Spiritborn build, the one Quill Volley build that can deal trillions of damage across a variety of situations. Pit pushing, bosses, infernal hordes, torment bosses, this one Spiritborn build can do it all. And you finally won't need to re-gear based on what the latest trend is. One build to chase and you're done for the entire season. We're also going to go over the key mechanics that make the Spiritborn class so ridiculously overpowered, so that even if you're playing something you created yourself, you'll be able to take away some key points by the end of the video and improve your own build's damage 100 times or even 1,000 times over. Build link will be in the comments or description below. So I'm going to start off by covering the most important mechanics of the build that can be easily applied to your own builds to skyrocket their damage. If you already know these things, then click on the timestamps below to skip to the relevant sections. One of the most important mechanics to understand in this build is barrier generation. 122.3% is the magic number, and you'll have seen it in a ton of builds, that number being thrown around. Why is 122.3% so important? It's because every overpowered Spiritborn build currently relies on the legendary Paragon node Viscous Shield. Viscous Shield is bugged, possibly intentionally by Blizzard to make Spiritborn overpowered on release, but let's not open that can of worms now. In that it uses your base life for its calculation rather than total life. Base life at level 60 is roughly 400, so we are now doing 1% extra damage for 3% of our base life we have as barrier. 3% of our base life is roughly 12 HP, so every 12 HP we have as a barrier, we gain 1% multiplicative damage. So for example, if I have 12,000 HP as a barrier, we actually get 1000% multiplicative damage increase. And honestly, we get way more barrier in this build. So the main method we get barrier in this build is through the Q rune, which at base gives us 45% of our max HP as barrier. To make this barrier hit the cap, 100% of our max HP, we need to increase this 45% number into a 100% barrier. This is done through the barrier generation stat. You need to increase 45 by 122.3% to make it 100. Hence why we chase that number in the build. It's why most Spiritborn builds use the Amethyst gem, because that gives a ton of barrier generation when slotted into armor. I will go over some other important sources of barrier generation later in the video. As I mentioned, barrier is based on your maximum life, so maximum life rolls on your gear become really important. Ideally, you want greater affixes on maximum life for all of your gear slots. It's not necessary, but it sure does help to skyrocket damage. So with any Spiritborn build this season, use the Viscous Shield node, get to 122.3% barrier generation with the Q rune, and stack maximum life. It's going to make your damage unreal, not to mention all this barrier is nuts for survivability. With huge amounts of barrier, you can even start to forget about things like resistance capping. Even in something like Torment 4, you won't need very much resistance with the amount of barrier you have. The next mechanic to focus on is resolve stacking. We combine two aspects here. The first is the aspect of redirected force, which gives us multiplicative increased critical strike damage based on our block chance, and the way this calculates that damage is off our raw block chance number. It's uncapped again. So if we have over 100% block chance, it will continue to give us more and more critical strike damage. The way we achieve this is through the aspect of interdiction, which gives us block chance based on the number of resolve stacks we have. Resolve tempers are also bugged currently, so when you masterwork crit them, it gives you 50% increased resolve stacks instead of the usual 25% you get on a masterwork crit. So with 3 masterwork crits, you can have 13 increased resolve stacks per item. My personal preference is to stack resolve. You can obtain a 7 to 8% aspect of interdiction fairly cheaply now, and that's good enough for most people. Resilient stacking is another method whereby you get more passive points into the resilience node, so you gain more percentage maximum life. It's also very powerful, but it becomes more powerful the better our gear is in terms of how much maximum life rolls we have. From my experience, resolve stacking is more beneficial for most people, and for this build especially. Next I'm going to talk about the Banished Lords and Rod of Kapaleke interaction. Banished Lords and overpowered hits are extremely powerful in this build because we're scaling maximum life anyways, and overpowered damage scales off maximum life. Most people assume that you need 275 Vigor to make it guarantee an overpower hit, But Quill Volley's base resource cost, 35 resource, is actually used in that calculation in the game. So to make it work, you only need 240 resource. With our Paragon setup, our skill tree, this becomes very easy to obtain. It's still extremely beneficial, however, to keep increasing your maximum resource. You don't want to stop at 240, and that's because with each extra point of vigor we spend, we gain multiplicative critical strike damage bonus through the Rod of Kapaleke. That's also why the unique affix roll on the Rod of Kapaleke is so important. If there's one thing you want to chase, it's a high or max roll on the unique affix on the rod, because it scales your damage in a multiplicative way. Touching on the chest piece, Shroud of False Death, this mythic unique is an absolute no-brainer for any Spiritborn build this season. It's super powerful because it grants us 1 free skill point into all of our passive skills. Each of those small damage increases stack multiplicatively, which along with having a ton of maximum life gives us a straight 2 to 3 times damage increase regardless of what chess piece you were using before. If there's one mythic to chase this season for your Spiritborn builds, this is the one. All these mechanics aren't unique to Quill Volley, they can also be applied to any other Spiritborn build that uses a core skill. The Crushing Hand build uses these same mechanics, so a lot of these tips can be applied there. And if you're using any core skill that's off meta, even something like Rake, that will also work there as well. Now there's 2 further steps required to hit those ridiculous trillion damage numbers. The first is the Jaguar Spirit. The Jaguar Spirit is what creates those massive numbers you see. Every 15th hit, Jaguar will create another damage number based off the last 0.5 seconds of damage you've done. With Quill Volley, you're firing off so many feathers that 15 hits is nothing. And then with good enough attack speed, we spam so many Quill Volley arrows in that 0.5 seconds, so this really does add up. This spirit is also why attack speed becomes important in the build. The more damage we can put out in a shorter time frame, the better for the Jaguar Spirit. Not only that, but the Jaguar Spirit currently double dips on all our damage multipliers. All our multipliers are used once when it does the initial hits and then adds them up, but then the number is multiplied up again when the Jaguar Spirit number is being calculated. That's why you get those crazy white numbers every once in a while. This build version I'm bringing you here also uses another mechanic which double dips, and that's the Fell Soothsayer's aspect, which almost works like a Sorcerer's Shatter mechanic. It causes an explosion which does up to 55% of the killing blow's damage to nearby enemies. But again, similar to the Jaguar Spirit, this happens twice, so we can achieve some nutty numbers combining both of these mechanics. These huge damage numbers really speed up pit runs, whether you're farming or you're pushing higher levels of the pit, where there's loads of ads so you can use them to create huge damage explosions onto stronger enemies. Against bosses with no ads and other tormentful content, the rest of the build has adequate DPS to carry itself as well. But trust me, any poor boss that does spawn a few ads here or there will literally get one shot by this aspect. It's crazy. So with the key mechanics out of the way, let's go over the skill tree we're using. I've put 1 point into Rock Splitter and 1 into Enhanced Rock Splitter because we need 2 points to unlock the next portion of our skill tree. Then we put 5 points into Quill Volley, 1 into Enhanced and 1 into Advantageous Quill Volley. With Enhanced Quill Volley we make enemies vulnerable so we can take advantage of Fell Soothsayer's aspect for those big shatter hits. I've then put 3 points into Follow Through because Kapaleke makes our Quill Volley behave as a basic attack as well. 3 points into Vigorous, which helps with Vigor generation, which is super important because we want to have enough Vigor generation to keep proccing Banished Lord's Talisman. You then want to put 3 points into Balanced Exertion for more damage. Then put 1 point into Vortex, 1 into Enhance and 1 into Measured Vortex. Put 1 point into Mirage so you can put 3 points into Unrestrained Power. We are running the secondary Gorilla Spirit, so we have 100% unstoppable uptime, so this is a constant multiplicative damage boost. Put 1 point into Focal Point so we can put 3 points into Apex for more damage. Put 1 point into Ravager and 1 into Enhance and 1 into Measured Ravager for more Vigor generation. Put 1 into Endurance so we can put 3 points into Perseverance, 5 into Armored Hide, 1 into Enhanced Armored Hide and 1 into Reinforced Armored Hide. We'll always have maximum resolve stacks thanks to Enhanced Armored Hide. Put 1 into Scourge, 1 into Enhanced Scourge, which boosts damage against CC'd enemies by a multiplicative 50%, and then 1 into Adaptable Scourge for more healing. If you are struggling with Vigor generation for 100% overpowers, then you can put that point into Reinforced Scourge instead. Put 3 points into Resilient and then put 3 points into Brilliance, 3 points into Potent and 3 points into Furnace. Remember with the Jaguar Spirit, all of our skills are Jaguar skills, so we can benefit from these nodes. Put 3 points into Resolution, 3 into Spiritual Attunement to boost our base Vigor, and 3 points into Supremacy for more damage after using our ultimate. 1 point into the Hunter ultimate, one into Harmonious and one into Exalted Hunter. The Hunter makes us delete injured enemies. Honestly, against bosses you'll notice you delete the lower 1/3 of their health. Our key passive is Prodigy's Tempo. This reduces our cooldowns every time we spam Quill Volley, because thanks to Kapaleke our Quill Volley is a basic attack. This allows us to keep up all our cooldowns, our ultimates, at all times for maximum damage. In terms of gear, for my helmet I'm running the Harlequin Crest. This is a great mythic to use. It has tons of maximum life, especially if you get lucky and get the greater affix on it, and maximum resource, which will significantly boost your damage output. Also with cooldown reduction, you can spam your abilities constantly, which makes it a great jack of all trades option, especially when you're looking to speed farm, and you can maybe use something like Soar instead of Scourge here. If you want to maximize damage output however, then you will want a legendary helmet eventually with the Apprehension aspect with maximum life, greater affix, and then you want to temper and masterwork crit resolve stacks. I've been super unlucky in hitting those resolve stack masterwork crits and I keep running out of mats, so honestly the Harlequin Crest is good enough. For your chest piece you absolutely want the Shroud of False Death. I've already explained that this chest piece is best in slot for most Spiritborn builds out there, as the +1 to all passives and the huge amount of maximum life really boost our damage output. Aim for the greater affix to be on maximum life. For your gloves, you want Dexterity, maximum life, greater affix, and then ranks to Quill Volley or core skills. Temper for barrier generation and overpowered damage. Aim for your masterworks to crit ranks to Quill Volley, or maximum life, that's not a bad option either. Your aspect here is the Fell Soothsayer's aspect. For your pants, you want maximum life, greater affix, dexterity, and then ranks to basic skills here, instead of probably the armor roll. Temper for barrier generation and maximum resolve stacks. Aim for your masterwork crits to hit all resolve stacks. Here you want the aspect of interdiction. For your boots, again you want maximum life, greater affix, movement speed, and then dexterity or armor based on your requirements. Temper for barrier generation and movement speed. Aim for your masterwork crits to all hit maximum life. Here you put the Duelist's aspect to increase ferocity stacks. Remember, ferocity stacks greatly increase your attack speed, which will in turn benefit the Jaguar Spirit huge damage numbers. If you're struggling for survivability, you can switch your boots out for something like Yen's Blessing for those resistance to all elements. But this is a DPS loss, and if you're not playing hardcore, honestly this isn't necessary. For the amulet, you want Banished Lord's Talisman. The priority here is a maximum overpower unique roll. Ideally you want this to be 60% or as close to it as possible, as this is a multiplicative boost. You then want at least 1 GA on maximum life, then you want your masterworks to hit maximum life or ranks to core skills. We also use the unique ring, the Midnight Sun. Here the priority is to have to as close to as maximum roll as possible, because this triggers the majority of our Vigor generation. With the rest of our setup, you need at least a 47% roll here to really make this build work. Our other ring is a legendary ring with the aspect of Redirected Force. You want to hit your greater affix on maximum life or on attack speed ideally here. Temper for resource generation and overpower damage. For your weapon, you have to have the Rod of Kapaleke. The main thing to chase here is as close to 3% roll as possible. Then you want your greater affix to be on maximum resource at the minimum so you can hit that Vigor Threshold easier. Aim for your masterworks to hit maximum resource or chance for core skills to hit twice. In terms of gems and runes, we socket amethysts on our armor for barrier generation, diamond on our jewelry for resistance to all elements. For runes, we use the Pock and Q rune so we can constantly get the Druid Bulwark barrier. We then use the Zol and Zal runes so we can constantly get a nice 20% maximum life buff, which significantly boosts our barrier and therefore our damage. For your spirit hall, you want the Jaguar as your main spirit, as I've discussed before, and Gorilla as your secondary spirit. You want Rahir as your main mercenary because Mocking Lure gives you another 15% multiplicative damage bonus. And then our reinforcement is Variana because Bloodthirst gives us a 10% attack speed bonus. Let's go over the Paragon board. To start off, you want to place this spirit glyph first here. Make sure to pick up these maximum life nodes here, they're very important to scale our damage. Then you want to go up and you want to get the sapping board. It's super important to get all these resource generation nodes here. And then we want to place the Hubris glyph, which is super important to level up first because it increases our maximum resource so we can hit that 240 threshold. Hubris is better than Menagerist here as it gives a better magic node bonus so we get more maximum resource. Hubris also gives us a multiplicative bonus against vulnerable enemies, which is super nice. Remember, these maximum resource nodes are super important. Then you want to go across and get the revealing legendary node. Again, make sure to pick up this maximum life node here. You want to place the Talon glyph here. Then you want to go across and get the all-important Viscous Shield legendary node. On this board, it's important we pick up all the barrier generation nodes because that's going to help us hit that magic 122.3% number. Here you want to place the Fulminate glyph. Finally, we get the Convergence node and place the Colossal glyph here. Make sure to get all of these maximum life nodes as well. If you want to copy the Paragon board in depth, then check out the planner in the link below. So there you have it, the final Quill Volley Spiritborn build. No more chasing new things, this is it. This will get you through all the content there is in the game right now. If you enjoyed what I talked about, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Diablo builds as we get deeper into Vessel of Hatred. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.